Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Smugglers MMA, where I'll be giving my UFC 329 Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway 2 predictions. Now, before we get started, I have a disclaimer. Disclaimer. Two of these fights, I will not be going too much into detail because, in my opinion, I don't care, and I think, in your opinion, you shouldn't care either. The matchups aren't really that good. They're kind of just there to be there. With that being said, let's get straight into the matchups with Alessandro Costa versus Cody Durden. This is one of the fights where kind of don't care as much. Maybe Costa can become something, but Cody Durden's kind of just like a journeyman, and I'll pick Costa by second round TKO. That being said, our next matchup is Ryan Gandria versus Zachary Reese. And, Ryan Gandria has two, on the contender series, he knocked out, his opponent in the first round. Same within the UFC in the first round. Brutal slime out. Zachary Reese had just recently fought, was it Michelle Pereira? If I'm saying that right. However you guys want to pronounce it. Where he lost a split decision. There was an eye poke, some low blows, potentially not low blows, but they got called. And Zachary Reese performed pretty well, He did get knocked down. He was bloodied up. He did get taken down, I'm pretty sure. And, he's just a solid all around MMA fighter. Solid kickboxing, solid on the ground. But I think Andrew is just gonna get in his face and knock him out. I mean, if Pereira's gonna sit you down, then again, Pereira does have some power to him. But I think Gandry is just on a different level. I think he'll close the distance and TKO him in the first round. Now, with that being said, our next matchup is Farad Basharat versus John Gurza. Now, John Gurza is on short notice. This was supposed to be Basharat versus Ethan Ewing, excuse me, but Gurza decided to step in. But he's a solid boxer. His takedown defense isn't that great. He does have some get up ability, but against Basharat, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't see this fight going 3 rounds. Hopefully, it doesn't for Basharat because I think he needs like a statement win. Like a TKO or sub, and that's what I'll go with. I'll go Basharat second round sub. Yeah, I mean Basharat's just really better everywhere. Better on the feet, better takedowns. I mean, he's taken down like every opponent he's faced, and has a submission win in the UFC. So honestly, second round Basharat sub. Now that being said, our next matchup is Damian Pinos versus Cesar Almeida. Let me just say this: I think Pinos is gonna destroy Almeida in the first round, and let me explain why. I think Pinos is kind of like another like a Tebe Gutierrez, like Francis Ngannou, like build, I guess. I think he's more technical than Ateba Gutierrez. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I mean, he's younger. He's got the reach. Almeida's 38. Has 9 fights. In his recent or second most recent fight, he got dropped really bad. He did ultimately come back to TKO, actually knock off KO his opponent, but he got caught, he got dropped, and I think against Pinos, I think he's gonna get brutally knocked out. I don't really see too much that Almeida can do, so I'll go round one, Pinos, so I'm out. That being said, our next matchup is Tracy Cortez versus Wang Kong. Um, Tracy Cortez is a grappler. She did get subbed in her last fight, if I'm not mistaken. Wang Kong, she's like a kickboxer, or like Muay Thai. Some solid, takedown defense. And I think she's going to get this done. Maybe a 29-28 decision. I don't know if she'll get a finish. Maybe I could see a body shot TKO. I think Cortez is weak to the body. I mean, most people are. Um, so yeah, I'll go Kong by decision. With that being said, this is the second matchup that I don't care about. Cody Wash Garbrandt versus Adrian Yanez. Yeah, this is really not much to say. Cody's just supremely washed, after getting knocked out by Dillashaw twice. Really no shame in that. Dillashaw is probably top five greatest bantamweight of all time. You know, his EPO has nothing to do with it. But anyways, off topic. Give me Yanez by whatever he wants. I mean, yeah. That being said, our next matchup is Luke Riley versus Kai Kamaka the third. I actually really was impressed with Kai Kamaka in his latest fight against Dakota Hope. Pretty sure it was in the lightweight division. He took some really massive shots, pause, and in against Dakota Hope, and he came back and actually won the fight. And Luke Riley kind of doesn't move his head, really solid boxer, but I still think he's gonna get this done. I don't think Kakamaka's a can. He was in the UFC before. He did recently just get back in it this year. And I think Luke Riley is going to get this done 30-27, maybe 29-28, Luke Riley. But yeah, don't be surprised if Kai Kamaka does hit him with some good shots. That being said, our next matchup is Gable Steveson versus Elisha Ellison. I don't even know if I said that right. Anyways, give me Gable by round one TKO. I think Gable's still a very raw prospect. His wrestling is obviously great, but the ground and pound, the sub, the stand up isn't all there yet. So I think it's Ellison. I think it's just a can for him to crush, and just announce yourself to the world on International Fight Week on the Conor McGregor card. I think this is perfect for Gable. And then that being said, or Gable by round one TKO. Forgot to mention that. That being said, our next matchup is Robert Whittaker versus Nikita Krylov. I've been going back and forth on this fight, ladies and gentlemen. Like Robert Whittaker did lose his most recent fight against Rainer the Ritter. Nikita Krylov had just won against Modestas Bukauskas, if I'm not mistaken. But he did lose two of his last three against Dominic Reyes and Bogdan Guskov, getting brutally knocked out in both of them. The thing with Whittaker is that he does kind of struggle against people who are taller, who does have more range. And that's exactly what Nikita Krylov is. He is taller, has more range. Up a weight division, 6 foot. I don't know if that's necessarily tall for the division. Like most light heavyweights and heavyweights are like 6'2", 6'3", somewhere 6'4", somewhere around that range. But it's gonna be really interesting. I feel like everybody wants to say Whittaker by like maybe second round TKO, and I do think that's obviously a possibility considering Nikita Krylov like doesn't have the greatest chin, obviously. But you know what? I'll just try to be different. I'll go Nikita Krylov by 29-28, maybe a split decision, potential rivalry. That being said, our next matchup is Bobby Green versus Terrence McKinney. Now, Bobby Green, I'm pretty sure, was coming off a win of Daniel Zellhuber, and Terrence McKinney had just slimed out some Canadian, I think it was, in the first round. Now, Bobby Green does leave his hands down a lot, and that sometimes does, bite him in the butt, but I think it's Drew Dober, the Minority Slayer. Okay, don't demonetize me, YouTube, please. But anyways, I have McKinney by I'll go second round TKO. Maybe Bobby survives the first, or maybe Green survives the first, but I think McKinney's just. I mean, he's just younger, faster, has more reach. Obviously, Bobby could catch him, coming in, but pause. But yeah, I have McKinney second round TKO. That being said, our next matchup is Brandon Royval versus Lona Kavanaugh. I think Kavanaugh's obviously, up and coming contender. Royval, more of a vet, I am worried about his chin a lot. Got brutalized by Joshua Van. Got brutally knocked out by Manel Cap, but then again, who doesn't buy Manel Cap at this point? Um, I don't like Royval, like his chances at least. I think Kavanaugh's just faster, pretty much the same reach, better kicks. And again, his chin, I'm just worried for it. I'll go Kavanaugh by 20. I'll go 30-27 Kavanaugh. May even drop Royval a few times. I don't know if he'll finish him, but I think the kicks and he's just so fast, Kavanaugh. So yeah, 30-27 Kavanaugh. That being said, our next matchup is Corey Sandhagen versus Mario Batista. This one was another one that I go back and forth on. Um, I mean, obviously Corey Sandhagen's better on the feet, but the problem is wrestling. Always has been, probably always will be. Considering he's 34, he's not getting any younger. Did get brutalized by, not brutalized. He did almost get finished on the feet by Marab, which was a cause for concern. And was it 30-27 by Umar? So not great, but then again, Mario Batista also got 30-27 by Umar. Is coming off a win of Vinicius Oliveira, pretty sure it was, and uh, a lot of people do pick Corey Sandhagen because on the feet, but give me Mario Batista. You know what? Why not? Give him by 29-28 decision. Normally I would pick a lot of TKOs or subs, but I'm gonna play it safe. Give me 29-28 Mario Batista. That being said, our next matchup is BSD versus Paddy Pimblett. This one, ladies and gentlemen, is another one where I go back and forth on. Now, BSD, he's a marauder, he's the Kratos memes of him, him just being like just kind of walk forward and just pray, and that's how he got knocked out brutally by the right hook of Dustin Poirier. But it's gonna be bad. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, BSD is just like kind of walk forward and just throw. Patty did kind of struggle against that. He did struggle against that against Justin Gaethje, but I could see like BSD just getting him on the ground and just raining down shots like he did against Dan Hooker. But then again, I could see Patty just like somehow getting a sub in like the second round, third round. But like Patty's whole excuse with the Gaethje fight was like, oh, it's Paramount card, first Paramount card. I don't want it to make it boring or whatever. That's probably what they did with Evelev. It'd be like, oh, Evelev, if you wrestled and no title shot for you, bad boy. I mean, can we use that excuse? I don't know. I also think Benoit is just a lot bigger. Pause. You know what? F it. Give me BSD by third round TKO, and hopefully Patty becomes, I don't know, better on the feet. So this doesn't happen to him. That doesn't make sense. Whatever. Moving on. Our main event: Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway. You know what? Give me Max. Actually, no, I'm kidding. Give me Conor McGregor by second round slime out. You know what? It's the year of the underdogs, okay? And I'm going with Conor, okay? You know what? He is older, hasn't fought in 5 years. Been doing some drugs, been doing some drinking, doing some allegations, we shall say. And, all the other stuff. But I mean, Max Holloway has fought a lot, but that's also could be a problem because he's fought a lot. Getting dropped by Gaethje, getting knocked out by Topuria, getting dropped and manhandled by Oliveira for 5 rounds. And even in the stand-up, I think Oliveira was significantly better than Max. Hitting him multiple times, hitting him with a brutal knee. I don't know. I just believe in Conor until the underdog has been proven wrong. I'm just gonna stick with it. I did choose Sean Strickland to beat Hamzat. Obviously didn't make a video on that, but I picked Ilya to beat Justin, and look what that happened. Olberg versus Yuri. You know, maybe Olberg wasn't the underdog, but as soon as he tore that ACL, he definitely was. And if Yuri just survives the first round, Olberg's corner was gonna stop it, and Yuri would be light heavyweight champ. That ain't happened. Carlos slammed him out, with a check left hook, because Yuri doesn't know how to move his head. So I obviously think if Conor McGregor does get into the later rounds, it could be bad. It's gonna be bad. Give me Conor McGregor, second round slam out. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, feel free, English, to call me crazy in the comments. With that being said, goodbye.